Hello, everyone, and welcome to the debut episode of the Rock and Wrestling Express podcast channel. My name is Jeremiah Johnson. I'm going to be your host of this channel, and what we'll be talking about on this channel is all things WWE, AEW, and things that are happening in the industry. And so please like, share, and subscribe to the Rock and Wrestling Express podcast channel. Well, today we are going to be talking about something that just happened over the weekend. That's right, Money in the Bank. So let's talk about it, the matches that happened, what went down, what's going to happen in the future. There was some big news that happened on Monday night. But anyway, a couple days late to the party, but that's okay because it's good to take a couple days to reflect on what our eyes saw over the weekend, right? So let's roll through it. It was very interesting. As many of you know that are watching, you now know that in that briefcase, at least for the women's division, was the actual title because we found out that Becky Lynch is pregnant. Well, let's roll through it and I will give you guys my thoughts regarding what happened at Money in the Bank. The first match started off with Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro. Jeff Hardy defeated Cesaro. And as I watched this match and saw some of the highlights, basically the only thing that I can think anymore when I watch Jeff Hardy is, why are you still wearing that? Anybody else, like, we've heard the jokes before, but I don't know, is Hot Topic even open right now? Where is he getting this clothing? And he's a great wrestler. He's a Hall of Famer. He's an all-timer. We all understand that, but it's time to progress with the times, if we will, right? I mean, when I think of Jeff Hardy, I think of someone like Chris Jericho, who has been able to, in a sense, stay true to himself, but at the same token, move on in terms of stylistically and change some things and kind of evolve and grow. But Jeff Hardy is just pocketed right there. Same moves, same clothes, same everything. And I just think it's time for something new and fresh. And what are they really going to do with him anyway? Make him the United States champion, IC title, those kind of things. Is there anything beyond that? And specifically now that his brother, Matt Hardy, is in the AEW, what are they going to do? I don't know. So basically my conclusion with that is, Jeff Hardy, yeah, you're a great wrestler. We appreciate all that you've done for the industry, but buy a new pair of pants. And Cesaro, man, a guy who seems to have a lot of skill, a lot of talent, seems to take great care of his body, but doesn't look like they're ever going to do anything with him. So that was the kickoff match. Jeff Hardy gets the win. Moving on to the next match, it was the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. It was a fatal four-way match, and the New Day are once again the champions. Not surprising, and here's my take on this particular match. First of all, with the New Day. Interesting name, New Day, and that's my comment. My takeaway is that, yes, it's time for something new because you're so quickly becoming old. Maybe they should title them the Old Day because there's just nothing new with them anymore. Now, one thing that I thought was very unique and special and captured the hearts of fans, if you will, is when had the World Championship run. I think that was good, and I think that was productive and added some new life to the New Day for Kofi, who I'm addressing and speaking to. But beyond that, them as a tag team, I don't know. Do they need to turn heel? Do they need to, all go against each other? I'm not for sure. It's just getting old. The second thought was John Morrison. John Morrison, as many of you know, wrestling fans, have been bouncing around in the Indies, TNA, different promotions, and started off in the WWE with loads of talent, but seemed like he needed to hone his skills and develop. And it seems like he has done all of those things. And in my opinion, it probably was most likely a money grab. He was in that pocket of time pre-COVID-19 when WWE was trying to scoop up talent desperately and probably handing out big contracts. I'm sure this was more of a payday thing for him. So sadly, I just wrote down my notation. It's just a wasted talent. A guy who seemingly has all the talent in the world, definitely could be a world champion, has been a world champion, not in the WWE. But it seems like, again, he will be pocketed in that mid to lower card and we will see him waste away. And how sad is that we continue to see WWE wasting away talent in so many different areas. John Morrison is one that I think is capable of much more. He's put in the work. He's done what he's needed to do to get a little bit bigger push, in my opinion. Lucha House Party. You know, I am a fan. I have always been. Now, those of you that will continue to watch the channel, you know that I actually prefer the AEW over the WWE. And I've always been, going back to when I was a kid, I was a huge WCW fan. I just thought that they had the better wrestlers. I thought wrestling was better. And that's where guys like Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko all wrestled. And these guys were skilled wrestlers. And I think of that Mexican style of wrestling, AAA, if you will, and that they just, you know, I wrote down my notation, just stop hiring Mexican talent if you're never going to use them. It's a fun, exciting style of wrestling that I think deserves more credit, that deserves more TV time, that, you know, deserves championship type runs. But again, WWE has just proven time and time again that they're not going to do that with Lucha House Party or really Mexican type wrestling, even though they keep scooping up the talent. And then the Forgotten Sons are just simply, to me, although skilled, seem to be just another tag team. I mean, what are they going to do with them? Do you see these guys as champions? Do you see them being elevated above the New Day? I don't think so. So there you go. New Day are once again the tag team champions, and we're going to continue to see their shtick, which is completely fine. I know that there's loads of fans for the New Day, but I would like to see something drastic or drastic change there. Moving on, Bobby Lashley defeated R-Truth, and this was a squash match, if you will. R-Truth, wow, a guy who continues to hang on. I didn't Google this, but I was wondering the other day, like, how old is this guy? I mean, as much as they paint him out almost at times to be a younger wrestler, it feels like he's been around forever doing his thing, but he just continues to hang on. He's goofy, he's awkward, and very likable, and great 24/7 champion. But anyway, Bobby Lashley comes out and squashes him. Regarding Bobby Lashley, here's what I have to say. Two things. Number one is like the pants. Definitely like the pants look. And so you can tell that once again, they're trying to repackage him to get him a push of some kind, which I'm not sure it is. But, you know, I began to think about that regarding, think about this. Just even in the last year or two, you've had Lio Rush, you've had Lana, you've had now MVP and their interaction or the relationship. I don't know if MVP is supposed to be a manager or what he's supposed to be, but they keep repackaging him and never giving him the big push. And so I guess in my opinion, he has the physical attributes, I guess doesn't have the mic skills, but what are they going to do? How are they going to push us? Will he ever become a world champion? He seems like he's kind of, in a sense, in the Drew McIntyre zone, where Drew McIntyre, they continued to give him many pushes and felt like he was on the verge, but never got there. Drew McIntyre is now the world heavyweight champion, but anyway, I just think Bobby Lashley is headed towards another slight push, and then they're going to just drop it, and then what's going to happen? So feel bad for Bobby Lashley. I don't see him as a great world champion, but you know, they've repackaged him again. We'll see what happens. All right, moving on. SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley defeated Tamina. And this is one that I really like in terms of Bayley. I just was, again, kind of maybe a New Day type fun, happy shtick gimmick that she had going on. And so then they turned her heel, and I think it has been a great move overall for the career of Bayley, and I think she functions very well in this mode. Her and Sasha Banks together, the dirty duo, if you will. So I like Bayley in this role. In my opinion, I would prefer that Sasha Banks be the champion. We'll see if she ever gets there, because remember, she threw a fit and left the WWE, didn't leave, but sat out for a little bit because she was so upset about how they were using her and the things that were happening there. So it'll be interesting, as much as they serve as a great duo together, what will they do with Sasha Banks in the future? Maybe they'll turn on each other. And then Tamina is just another, another big guy, another big gal, if you will. I just don't see her becoming a champion. She she looks like a smaller Nia Jax, if you will. So I just don't see anything happening there. So again, I don't know what they're going to do with that, but I do like what they're doing with Bayley and Sasha Banks, the dynamic that they have together. Moving on to the next match, we have Universal Champion Braun Strowman defeated Bray Wyatt. I just began to think during this match, are they beginning to move on from Bray Wyatt? They spent so much time. Now, me personally, myself, not a huge Bray Wyatt fan, not a big Fiend fan per se, but yet it was something very unique to the wrestling industry that we haven't seen for a while. And not long ago, it was probably the hottest thing that WWE had, and then they had the Fiend get squashed by Goldberg, and now Bray Wyatt gets beat. So are they setting him up to move on from him when they spent all this time building up his character, the character development in regards to Bray Wyatt in the Fiend, Firefly Funhouse? I'm not for sure. I think it's, again, for my personal taste, not a big fan of that, but yet I think that they had something there that I don't know if it's losing the shine, if you will, just a little bit. Moving on, we have WWE champion Drew McIntyre defeated Seth Rollins. I thought this was great. And finally, this was one of those guys, Drew McIntyre, that just kind of looked like, they kept pushing him at times and never pushed him over the edge. And they finally made that decision to put the championship on him. And I think what a great move. And is serving very well in this particular role. I think he should have been here already. I think he should have already been a champion, if not a multiple-time champion. He has the look. He has the skills, the girth. I think everything probably Vince McMahon likes as well. And I like what they're doing with him. And one of the things I took note of specifically last night on Monday Night Raw was his promotional skills, his mic skills. We hadn't seen a lot of that in the past, but it seems like he's really developed those and does perfectly fine in terms of emotion and carrying all those things that you need to do when cutting a promo. So, man, thumbs up to Drew McIntyre and what they're doing with him. I think he will make a great champion, and we'll see how long his particular run will last. All right, so the big one that everyone was really wondering what they were going to do was the Money in the Bank ladder match, men's and women's, which took place at WWE headquarters. And now, I guess not the exact same match, but we saw the Boneyard match over WrestleMania with AJ Styles and Undertaker. Some of you like that. Some of you thought it was a weird match. I don't know. I guess it was something different. It was cinematic. And I at least applaud them and give them effort for doing something different in these interesting times. So I was expecting a little bit of the same thing in regards to this with the Money in the Bank ladder match. I thought it was good overall as I watched through it. Some of the different things, obviously some of the things that they didn't make sense. Some of them were borderline cheesy, but overall, I guess it accomplished the goal of providing something different for the viewer and for the audience. And I think you're going to continue to see, at least within the next year or two, you're going to continue to see these type of matches, whether it be the Boneyard match, whether it be in WWE headquarters, those kind of things. It was very gimmicky, but come on, those of us that have watched and been a part of following pro wrestling for a significant amount of time, we know that it's about cheesy. Think back, every once in a while, I think back to some of the wrestlers I liked when I was a kid and how cheesy their gimmicks were and how popular they were. And it worked. So I think overall, this worked overall. Obviously you can nitpick and go back to things, how do they not know where the top of the building is? You just go up and, the length of time that it took to get there. And some of the things that they were doing were utterly cheesy, but at least they gave the effort and again, try to provide this cinematic look. And so Asuka won the Money in the Bank ladder women's match, and then Otis wins the men's. In regards to Asuka, I just think back to when she was unstoppable. I think back to her WrestleMania moment for Charlotte Flair when she lost, but yet I thought, they were going to keep elevating her, and then she just kind of took that descent downward. And finally, Otis, and here's, I think, the best take that I have for the whole show, if you waited till the end, was that I think that when I see him now, here's what I think. I think here is potentially the next Hacksaw Jim Duggan. How many of you remember Hacksaw Jim Duggan? with the board and everything like that. I think Otis has the potential to be that and to do that if they stick with him. A lot of storylines that I think they could use with him. So there you go. Those are my takeaways from the Money in the Bank ladder match. It'll be interesting to see how they begin to navigate the future. And we will talk about Monday Night Raw. We'll talk about AEW, those things that are coming up. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on the debut episode of the Rock and Wrestling Express podcast. Hope that you will subscribe to the channel as we start this community, as we start this journey, and give you unique takes, unique content from the world of wrestling. My name is Jeremiah Johnson. This is the Rock and Wrestling Express podcast. Talk to you next time.